and you're threatening to take off the leash if they will refuse to sign the deal. So I think this is sort of the realpolitik that we're seeing right now.
So just one point, Pure. There is warnings that after the ballistic missile that was thrown from the Houthis, there is also warning above Iraq from cruise missiles and not cruise, but like missiles and drones going through Iraq into Israeli territory. So it seems that some sort of retaliation is ongoing. Still not enough information to qualify what it is and the impact of that attack.
I see we've got Mark requesting. I'm quite keen to hear from Mark, nuclear expert. President, I see you've got your hand raised as well. Did you want to jump in?
Yeah, real quick. I mean, regarding your question, whether the U.S. would be involved, that is an Iranian decision right now. Iran can show up on Sunday. President Trump was very clear that we're still open to talking, obviously under very different terms at this point. But obviously, from a technical perspective, Israel will need American assets and American expertise to hit those deeply buried nuclear facilities that are deep in the mountains that requires B-2 and 30,000-pound bombs. However, the Iranian regime has the option today to open up these facilities to inspectors. And what Iran gets out of that, well, this 2-week campaign, this very painful 2-week campaign, will become a few-day campaign. And the regime may survive at the end of the day. We have to remember, and I'll wrap up with this, the Iranian regime for half a century has traded prosperity, personal safety, democracy. They forced this trade on the Iranian people in exchange for protecting the people from this make-believe monster that's Israel and the United States. Now, they are miserably failing in delivering on that promise, and the Iranian people protesting today and asking their government to retaliate, they will soon ask their government they're soon going to ask for a new government, because there is no retaliation coming, not a meaningful one at least.
So, Cliff, you had a question?
Yes, well, I just wanted to add something. I mean, I don't know if you guys saw Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, comment, basically given the President and Israel the legitimacy of the Congress to take actions. That's how I understood it. I could be wrong, but that's how I interpreted his message. So technically, if the President wants to get involved now, he has the backing of the Congress, apparently. So I completely understand it. We need the GBU-57s and heavy ammunition to destroy the targets. But it seems like so far the Israelis are doing fabulous. At first, there were a lot of doubts about the air refueling capabilities and stuff. The Israelis, apparently they have Boeing 707s that they have modified somehow, and they're using it to refuel their jets in the air, probably above Iraqi and Syrian air. So I see where the bombardment is needed, which I believe at some point is going to come soon. If the Yemenis and the militias will continue targeting Israel at the way and the rate they're doing now, I could see Israel jumping. I could see the United States jumping into the scene very, very soon. That's what I just wanted to add.
Thanks, Cliff. Yeah, I mean, it's difficult to tell, I think, exactly what's going through Trump's head. Keep in mind that this is the chap who said he would end all the wars, and, well, we're now in a major potential one. So, yeah, it's difficult to tell, I think, exactly what he's planning. Abraham Accords was his crowning achievement of foreign policy in his first term. So, you know, if they can deal a decisive blow to the Islamic Republic, which sort of alleviates the fears of the Arab states and such, then it may be a success. But at the moment, it's, you know, but it's still not sure to me at least what the Iranians can do or are willing to do. And Mark, I sort of wanted to come to you really because of your nuclear expertise. What exactly are we seeing from Israel strikes? What have they here? How significant is this in terms of setbacks for the Iranians to their nuclear program, but also their nuclear capabilities from an energy provision, let alone, you know, weaponry and stuff?
Hey, I want to apologize in advance. I'm exiting the airport, but I'll try to be quick here. I have not yet seen confirmed reports of damage. And by the way, I just want to say, anyone can DM me. If anybody sees a report they want to check on the veracity of, or the possibility of, or even just inform me of something they think I've missed, please send it to my DMs. I promise I'll see it, and I appreciate all the help. Anyway, so far what we've seen from IAEA, International Atomic Energy Agency, is they said they're watching. There's been no leaks. There's been no radiation. But IAEA is often not in a position to say much more than, we want everybody to stop attacking nuclear facilities. Don't do it. It can be dangerous. So it kind of falls to others to sort out what the potential harm is. In this case, I have not seen anything yet from official sources, and I just got off the plane saying there's been a damage that could lead to radiation leakage, but I want to clarify that Natanz is not a nuclear reactor facility. I think there's been a lot of misinformation over the night with people calling it a reactor, and then some people been saying that that means that reactors in Iran have been hit. This is not the case.
Right, sorry about the background.
If I might just jump in quickly for some news, and we'll see if we'll share it here live during this space. But according to Fars News Agency, the Iranian Supreme Leader Ali Khamenei will address the nation in a couple of minutes. So that's something to be on the lookout, and we'll try to share the highlights of that once that happens to see and what his response is and how. Both countries are in a state of war, but Iran doesn't even acknowledge the existence of the state of Israel. So it'd be interesting.
Cyprep, do you think it will be pre-recorded or will it be live?
That's an interesting question. Actually, interestingly enough, and I'll share. Obviously the Supreme Leader is not in this area, but it does look like that there was earlier air defense activity near the Supreme Leader's residence in Tehran. Obviously, the Supreme Leader is not there. But that's something that I wouldn't be surprised if this was pre-recorded or he is in a very secure bunker.
Well, keep in mind also that the guy is 85, so his health is not exactly ideal for these sorts of situations.
Yeah.
I can't see him being ferried around or making harried statements at that time. So I think it's going to be pre-recorded, but how long and what he chooses to focus on, I think, is as critical as how it's done, you know. But, yeah. Azim, you wanted to jump in on that point?
I mean, you're absolutely right. It's definitely going to be pre-recorded. I don't think they'll risk having him exposed in any shape, way, or form, including with signal intelligence. I'm really eager to see what he's going to say about the loss of failure of his military systems. Again, we have to remind everybody that according to the IDF, at least not a single surface-to-air missile was launched against at this point more than 400 sorties by the Israeli Air Force. This is failure. I mean, this would. I guarantee you the Iranian regime did not just decide not to protect its skies. So we'll see what he's going to say, but I think, in my opinion, or my hope at least, that he will start making the case for showing up on Sunday to the negotiations.
Yeah, just getting some news here. Thanks, Steph. Yeah, the Home Front Command guns basically stay near protected areas. That's what's coming from Channel 13 in Israel. So there is still a fair amount of fear about what the Iranians plan to do. I personally do think that there's going to be more coming tonight. The Iranians tend to do more in the night. Also, how many of these major escalations have we seen occurring on a Friday or a Saturday? It's insane. It's been almost every time, I think, in the Middle East at this point. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do choose to do something sort of what Gunnerman gives his pre-recorded address, and then they start launching. Well, actually, Stefan put that to you as a question. What could the Israelis do realistically? Missiles and mirages. What options do they have left?
Yeah, that's really bad. I mean, the only thing is the ballistic missiles. Again, here's the problem that Iran has: is that although they have the largest ballistic missile program in the Middle East, not all the ballistic missiles that Iran has in their arsenal can reach Israel. Right? If this was an attack against, let's say, U.S. military bases across the Middle East, oh, absolutely. Right? Because you have Qatar, UAE, etc. Yeah. Those short-range, the vast majority of those short-range ballistic missiles within the arsenal of Iran can reach those targets. Right? The thing about Israel is they have to use their medium-range ballistic missiles. So Israel doesn't have to be worried about a lot of these other areas, and I think that's why they're doing a lot of these targeted strikes. I mean, we've seen the concentrated strikes in Tabriz, Kermanshah. This is kind of in the western portion, and they're probably targeting those missile systems that can reach into Israel. And so that's something really important to highlight. And so, but Iran can still do it. If you look historically, at all the Iranian things and when they launch, I mean, it takes them a couple of days to do it, and that's why we're probably seeing the drone launches. But I think this is why Israel has really targeted the command and control and the leadership of these organizations, because they want to cause mass confusion and chaos within the IRGC ranks, and that would cause more of a delay for an Iranian response, enabling Israel, since they basically have, for all intents and purposes, air superiority over Iran already, enable them to continue to conduct strikes against these assets, right? I think that's the goal of the Israelis. It was a decapitation strike, cause mass confusion within the ranks, and then leverage that confusion to then start striking more hardened structures and support networks, logistics, bases, etc., to really degrade those abilities.
So Steph, I mean, I think we've got Colonel Jeff on stage. I want to go to him. But I would say it's quite interesting, really. They have been quite disciplined in only focusing on the military arm, right? There's no political arm, and we know the relationship of how the two work together, especially in a place like the Islamic Republic. So it's very much about the IRGC fact, not the political sort of network and such. But Jeff, what's your opinion of what you've been saying today, and what now, and what could happen even as early as tonight or over the weekend?
Yeah, hey, thanks for bringing me up. So I think the lesson learned here is if you're buying Western military gear, you can project power pretty far. And if you are buying Russian gear, you're in a lot of trouble as another nation, right? Because we've kind of learned from Ukraine that Russian stuff wasn't really up to snuff it was still effective to a degree. Let's not say it was completely ineffective. But their export variants, things that they're giving out to other nations, were woefully inadequate. I don't think that's going too far beyond the bounds, right, or overly dramatic. And when you have 400 sorties flying over your nation and you didn't down one airplane, that's a big deal. I do have a question. I don't know necessarily how the supreme leaders tie to the military is, right? So, I don't know if he would be a target of an assassination if he's not somehow tied to the military, because you can't, as much as I understand Israel might want to do that, right? I don't think that they dabble into laws of armed conflict violations and things like that. So
he is the leader. The same way Nasrallah was the leader of the military.
Okay, perfect. That answers that question. I didn't know. Okay, thanks.
So we've got some interesting information here that was just shared. Although to me it doesn't come as too much of a surprise, much like the Ukrainians giving backstory to the US administration, I think at least before Trump took over, about operations. By the way, Netanyahu gave, prior warning or whatever information to the US about the strikes. Netanyahu said that Israel coordinated with the US ahead of its attack on Iran, quote unquote. We told them in advance they knew about the strike. What they will do now, I leave it to President Trump. He makes his own decisions. I will not speak for him. He speaks very persuasively and very firmly and said Iran should not have nuclear weapons. They should not have enrichment capabilities. That comes from a CNN article and demonstrates, I think, that the perceived bad relations between Trump and Netanyahu was actually all nonsense. So I don't know. I mean, I still think there was some disagreement here and there, but it's speculation. So anyway, that's the latest bit of information on the political front. Voice, go for it.
Hey Peter, so I just got an alert to my phone from the Homefront Command Center, and they are basically asking people in certain areas, so me living close to the northern border, they asked us to be next to a bombing shelter because there is the suspicion that there will be some sort of an attack during Khamenei's speech. So right now, yeah, this is the situation on the ground. So in case there will be anything, I will try to open my mic. But if not, then you would know that I'm running.
Just to confirm, you're saying you did get indications that an attack is originating from Iran against Israel. That was the alert that was sent. Just to confirm.
Yes, they are sending it individually according to the area that you live. So they trace your phone, they know in which area you live, and then you are getting this warnings, and the alert said that it's because of the fear of an imminent attack.
Yeah, because we have images, and actually we had a speaker yesterday, so I don't know if we can get him back on to the Mario teams. Stephen Nabil. He said he tweeted a video, and you're seeing moments ago, we've seen over Iraqi cities in the western part, headed towards Jordan, and then obviously Israel, and it just looks some contrails, could be cruise missiles, could be ballistic missiles. So that could be associated voice to what you were alluding to. But from the videos, it doesn't look like a large quantity, but we don't know how.
I just want to stick on this though, Steph, for a second. Voice, like, so you're there, so if I can ask, like, sort of, how do you feel being on the ground? Like, do you feel that the Iron Dome is well equipped to deal with any potential? I mean, it did remarkably well the first time round, but I feel like the Iranians are going to upscale it even more this time. So, like, personally for you, how do you feel being in the situation? If that makes sense.
Well, thinking somehow at the same time. I'm not by jets in the air and stuff like that. And the Iron Dome is less what makes me feel secure. It's more like the Arrow 2, the Arrow 3, and also new laser system of ELTA.
Don't forget David Sling.
I think we lost voice. Am I the only one who can't hear it?
Hear me?
Yeah, I think.
There you are, voice. There you are. Now we can hear you.
Sorry, guys. I hope you can hear me now well, right?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I'm saying that these systems, because they intercept the missiles way outside the atmosphere and also mostly far away from the Israeli airspace, I feel more secure knowing that these are deployed in the exact place. I think the Iranian mindset or the IRGC mindset is to launch an attack because they believe maybe that most of our Air Force pilots are too busy with Gaza or also with what's happening in Iraq right now, and maybe it will be a good time to launch some sort of an attack. But they probably learned some lessons from what happened last time when they tried to launch cruise missiles, drones, and ballistic missiles all at the same time, so some arrived earlier, some arrived a little bit later, and they thought this is how they're going to challenge the air defense system. So that's not the case. That's not how they can challenge it. I feel safe, Piotr, living in Israel in time like this, but I'm also very about health because war with Iran is not like a war with Gaza. This is something completely different, and the longer it will take, the dangerous it will become for all sides, by the way.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that. I think it's just very interesting to share with listeners. Obviously, you're covering this professionally, but you are on the ground. Your personal security is another element. So appreciate that. But Hazem, did you want to jump in and then we'll go to you, Jeff?
Yeah, real quick on retaliation. The key point when it comes to retaliation, it needs to be proportional. And Iran has nothing remotely proportional to what has been done over the past few hours and continues to be done. There's another aspect that, for one, Iran tried to retaliate already with 200 drones, all were shut down. Obviously, the response from Iranian arms and proxies, such as the Houthis, well, for Hezbollah, it was a very tactical two drones attempt, and Hezbollah would not want the Lebanese army to get involved at this point, and they will get involved if Hezbollah tries to do more than what they've done already. For the Houthis, they're looking at the situation, they're saying, well, we don't have any capabilities, and we really do not feel like we should be dragged into this conflict with a very active air campaign that can be very easily expanded into Yemen. Also, for the Iranian regime, as you mentioned very correctly, they have a limited amount of missiles to use to reach Israel. And the failure, now we're having this conversation, there's the illusion of the capability to respond by the Iranians. If they start sending ballistic missiles and these missiles get shut down in totality, then even that illusion of capability will be gone and they will be left with absolutely nothing. So it's not an easy decision for the Iranians to take this risk of launching a failed retaliation.
Specific on that, right? I think it's the Iranians lost a major.
I got just quickly. Sorry, if I may. I think this was shared in Khomeini's Telegram channel. I'm just going to read it out just from the address, and then Hazami can go to Nothing Burger. The Supreme Leader of the Revolution, in a televised message to the Iranian nation, said, "Quote: The armed forces will make the scoundrel Zionist regime miserable." Ayatollah Khamenei addressed the great Iranian nation in a televised message tonight. The armed forces will act with force and impoverish the scoundrel Zionist regime. The Zionist regime will not escape this crime unscathed. The Iranians supposed to be assured.
Hey Nick, you want to hear that Cindy Stumble impersonation? This fucking war is breaking my balls tonight. My workers aren't showing up. I got 10 construction sites and no Mexicans.
The Iranians lost one of their.
Nelson, I want my money back from investing in this piece of shit app.
You can argue which was the plausible deniability thing by striking around
Grant.
or attempting to.
Grant.
Obviously,
the Israelis have made an unprovoked attack on Israel, on Iran, and it's not our responsibility to come to their aid.
You can argue they're doing well in the line of contact, but the Ukrainians keep, entering their own airspace. When someone was saying, well, the Russians will send their air force down to help the Iranians, blah, blah, blah. Really? So the air force...
Shut the fuck up! When I am fucking speaking, you will go on fucking mute until I finish my fucking point! Is it that fucking hard to understand? Have a little modicum of decency?
Nobody's willing to defend Iran's hill today. They are alone and they are afraid. For sure.
Voice, Jeff, you guys got your hands
No,
up.
mine.
Go back to you.
You're just a racist
No,
on
you
the
have Jeff
down.
before me.
But
I will
I'm
explain
sweet
something about
southern
the
belle.
Iranian.
Shut the fuck up!
Jeff could go ahead.
Okay, I was trying to be ladies first, but go for it, Jeff.
You're such a gentleman. What I wanted to point out was I think earlier you said it was interesting what they pick for targets, and I would tell you that if you're going
Stream it here on Clubhouse.
No, isn't that crazy? You invested in an app to restream your conference call on the original conference call app. It's crazy.
Yeah. It makes no sense.
Well, it's a scam. I mean, that's what it is. I mean, I think they use it to vet investors and then to see how much of a sucker they are.
Yeah, soliciting investors. That's all they're doing.
And yeah, it's basically an investment scam. It's not an actual business. It's the same thing with Fanbase. Have you ever used that racist piece of shit app?
Hey, bro. How do I do that shit too in Canada? I don't know. Try setting up an app. How do I do that?
That's how you do it. That's how you get started.
Yep. But the thing is like, so now that Clown House charges, well, they don't charge, but I think this is going to be a pay app eventually, even if it's just $5 a year, $10 a year. I think they're eventually going to make you pay something. I think that's what they're going to do with Chatter.
Chatterbait.
caught by surprise that in order to launch these missiles, you'll need fuel, a special fuel for these missiles. And earlier today,
They come from China. The special fuel comes from China.
Bombing also in Tabriz, the fuel, the rocket fuel depots that were there as well. So it might be one of the reasons, at least, why we see this delay. Now, let's sort it out.
That room. It would be like, no, I really want to hear what Tiffany has to say. God. That was a perfect troll name because nobody knew. And they're just like, oh no, I really, this Tiffany person's pretty interesting.
Was I doing a girl's voice or did?
Yeah, you were from like the South. I think you were from like South Carolina or Georgia or something. Or Alabama.
I hate this app.
It's just hilarious how serious people take it.
I know, it's really pathetic. It shows you that even if you're a successful person and you take yourself so seriously on this app, like you have failed to comprehend one of the like preeminent points of life. It's like this is all temporary and you're willing to die on a hill. And really, it's a question of like flexibility. People are inflexible. They're so rigid in their ego, and they demand that their projection, be listened to, and that it's 100% correct. Nobody is tentative, and everybody is just definitive or extremely rigid. There's no give in these people's houses, which is their brain and their identity. And they don't see the comedy in any of this, which is, if you don't see the comedy, then you don't have an understanding of like one of the main tenets of philosophy is that, God is laughing and smiling, so.
Well, that's the thing. I think people just, they don't know how to laugh, and they're taking this app to like the extreme level. Everything they take what everyone says with a grain of salt. Like,
if your behavior on here is very childish, demeaning, pathetic, egotistical, vainglorious, etc., like that's how you are in the real world. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, there's no online persona. That's you. Everything you say here, how you respond, how you act, that's you. So if you're a petty little obnoxious bitch, that's you in the real world. That's life. You are your words.
Yep. So what's going on in Chicago? I saw that there's like parades for this bullshit ICE shit.
Yeah.
And they're blocking like, what was it, Michigan Avenue? I can't remember, but they blocked part of like one of their areas right by the water where like you can't get past the road.
Yeah, I don't know, but they say Saturday could be like a very dangerous day, so I don't know. Stay home with your guns and your butter.
Yeah. Well, look at the People's Republic of Los Angeles, what's going on there. Why the fuck, did you say like your sister lives in Cali?
Yeah. I don't know,
Why the fuck was
she lives in Seattle, actually, another liberal shithole. Every major city is a liberal shithole.
But that's just it. Edmund, I was in Minneapolis with my friend. We went to South Dakota, whatever. The layover was in Minneapolis for a day. And we're like, let's go take a walk down there. So we went down to the Mall of America, whatever, took the subway downtown. Like, the downtown wasn't bad because like there was a basketball game going on, so it wasn't too bad. But like the Mall of America is filled with Somali Muslims.
I know.
They've taken over.
I've been there. I've seen it. I've seen how happy these young Somalis are. They're just like kids in a candy shop, and they're where they don't belong. They shouldn't be here. I mean, This is the problem with America.
That's who gave us Ilhan Omar. And like here in Michigan, Dearborn, they voted Rashid Tlaib because it's like an 80% Muslim population there.
Yep. It's crazy. You'd think that these Muslim men or women would like wise up and at least get rid of that dumb bitch. I mean, You know, a lot of these Muslims, they sided with Trump over the trans pederasty.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of the Muslims in Detroit sided with Trump. They met with him. They like shook his hand.
But the thing is what shocks me is Trump's pro-Israel.
I know, but they would rather choose that over trans pederasty because they're conservative. So yeah, they looked at Kamala and Waltz and they're like, nope, fuck that shit. They would rather have their fucking they would rather have the war and conservatives in charge than have these clown people in charge. So
Interesting.
yeah, I thought that was a surprising twist. I was like, how could they side with? Because I think they know what the game is that these Democrats are just ruthless war hawks as well, and maybe even worse. They are worse, not maybe worse. They're 100 times worse.
Well, you got someone worse than Lori Lighthead in Chicago. I didn't think that was possible.
Yeah, it's hard to imagine that it can get worse, but yeah, he's an example of a woke leftist African American male. I mean, he sits there and he talks about how, this is the way things would have been if the Confederacy won. Like, he says the most insanely stupid shit. There is no way he wins again. Like, his approval rating is that low. So, like, he's going to be a one-term mayor.
You know what's going to be interesting when they start telling Chicago pension
Recipients,
people that get a Chicago pension that you're like, yeah, you're not getting 100 cents on the dollar. You're getting like 50 cents.
Mm-hmm.
And even that's pushing it 50 cents of the dollar. But when they finally admit that they're fucking bankrupt, and you take away like people's retirement.
Who knows if or when that'll happen, because they could just keep borrowing. Just in the same way that the federal government does. These city-states they do have the ability and the direct relationships, and the banks are like, you want us to lend you more money at this rate? Okay, you got a deal. Like, this is how banks make money. I mean, and the banks are agnostic too. They don't care if they're even going to get paid back. They want the transaction fee.
Fractional reserves. They keep 10% and they loan back out 90% of it. I mean, it's the fractional banking system is, oh man.
I mean, you know who is fucked? Iran. They're fucked. Palestinians in Gaza Strip. They're fucked. I mean, did you see Yemen launched a rocket and it fucking hit the West Bank? Like they're hitting their own people.
Yeah. Like they don't understand that people don't support Muslim nations. Like everyone's gonna turn against Muslim nations for long. Like, trust me, this is not gonna end well.
Somebody's calling us incels in the chat. Okay, let me go back to this
Iranian
extreme.
police, all sorts of vehicles, armed vehicles, stuff that are mostly being used by police officers of the regime. Once you're going to see those being under attack, this is when you know, okay, the target is indeed to at least spark a regime change. And right now, this is not what we're seeing. We don't see any of these targets being attacked, at least not for now. So I think that would be the best indicators for you guys and for anybody who is listening and trying to understand what is going on. As long as these targets are untouched, this is obviously not the objective of those who are committing the attack.
Yeah, I think it's sort of indirectly incentivizing the Iranian people to do it of their own accord, right? The thing that Iran does have, which a lot of countries don't, when you're talking about the day after, is, well, say Gaza, for example, right? We don't have a clear idea of who would govern the Strip or Palestine as we do in Iran. You've got the Crown Prince, and we've got a clear sort of diaspora of people who could contribute towards creating a post-Islamic Republic kind of government and leadership and lead to elections and whatever. And that's clear, but sort of how do you get from now to that is sort of the key question. And obviously, Israel doesn't want to be the one to sort of take out the leaders and such, because that's a whole different element to getting the people on the ground to sort of do it for themselves, sort of thing. So I think that's a really crucial point you're talking about the political direction of things, and Wajid, I know you've joined the
45
panel,
years.
and we've had great contributions from you in the past. I'm curious what your take is on everything going on at the
The
moment.
greatest military in the world. Nobody
I
can beat us as
feel
long
like
as we have our right
this
leadership.
has been long coming. I've heard people talking about this kind of attack since 2018, and it's been back and forth between Israel and Iran. What I received
Do
information.
you mind if I be really rude and just interrupt you with some important news? It may influence what you say next. Thank you, mate. Basically, President Putin, considering I was making comments about Russia just now, has spoken to both, interestingly, President Masoud of Iran and Benjamin Netanyahu. Now, obviously, Russia has a, should we say, complicated relationship with the Israelis. It's not great, but it's not sort of dead. And they've obviously had to navigate each other in the, say, Syrian airspace over the years. So I'm very curious to see what he would have said, and also how Russia's thinking about it. Another piece of news is reports indicate Israel has identified preparations in Iran to launch about 100 ballistic missiles. So our sort of guesses of, bigger non-drone type things, i.e. ballistic, do seem to be on point. Going to be interesting to see, if that follows through. We're waiting to verify that from more sources, but that's sort of some speculative information for you. But Wajid, thanks for being here.
It will take them 12 minutes to get here. 12 minutes.
I've had people from my own sources in the Saudi military who told me that from insider sources that they want to identify themselves that there was some assistance from the Saudi airspace to the Israeli government to assist with the attack in Iran. That was information that was passed to me by someone that was in the Saudi Air Force, and it basically gives us a good idea that the Gulf countries, at least, they're all on board with this attack, and they all had some sort of idea of this attack happening beforehand, as well as the United States.
Yeah, that's not accurate. 1 second, Wajid, just one thing. They were involved, but they were involved in the interceptions, not in the attacks in Iran, as far as I know. Just wanted to add that.
Yeah, that's why I mentioned in the Saudi airspace itself. So they were involved, but they didn't do direct attack on Iran. So that's correct. What I was trying to say is basically this is a sign that Gulf countries are celebrating. They've been struggling with the attacks from the Houthis for a minute. That is a direct link from Iran. And they've been struggling also with Lebanon for a while because Lebanon is also a state that Saudi Arabia has been trying to put its own influence on for a long time. So from what I've seen, only members of the Brotherhood and religious political movements have been the one that have been calling for action against Israel. So there is some sort of divide. I think Russia is too busy. Russia is too busy, and it's only going to act like a mediator. In fact, I think Russia has a lot of its citizens in Israel, so I don't know if Russia has any interest of wanting any war in this situation.
They don't have the capacity. I don't think it's about.
They're too busy with.
Appetite. It's about capability, and I just don't think the Russians have the bandwidth. They can barely defend their own bloody airspace. You know what I mean?
That's why the only country that said we'll step up is North Korea. Russia didn't say they're going to step up. North Korea said that they're going to help Iran. So what's clear to me is Iran is on their own, and North Korea was helping Russia and Ukraine. So I feel like the last country that they could fall on is North Korea. And they would have to pay out of their own pocket for that, I believe. So, from my own opinion,
the North Korean side in Kursk in Russia was very inconsistent, shall we say. They denied it for months, and then eventually when you had piles of North Korean bodies being emerged, and then also when the Russians retook Kursk, or much of Kursk, it was finally revealed that they did. I do wonder how much the North Koreans would get involved, as much of their industrial capacities are really supporting the Russians. And then obviously there's the distance, proximity thing. It's quite easy for North Korea to deliver to Russia because it's just over the Russian airspace. But here you've got to go through other countries, and there's a bit of a more complicated, delivery path. So
I think
not
what
expecting
Iran,
much use in this.
Iran's biggest mistake is that they started too many war fronts and they wanted to support too many of their proxy groups without wanting to take any responsibilities for it. And, they couldn't look forward to seeing that one day that all their proxies group could be dismantled and they would be the last person standing, and that's where we're left at, checkmate. So I think Iran is going to be looking at the end of its life here pretty soon, and maybe for a new regime. At least that's what Arab Gulf countries are hoping for.
Yeah, interesting though, reports earlier saying that they're going to condemn the events, activities actions by Israel. So,
They say that the public all the time. They've been having very close relationship with Israel behind closed doors. They always say that we condemn the actions of Israel, but then behind closed door, they're having cheers and they're drinking glasses of champagne. Let's
Non-alcoholic champagne. Non-alcoholic champagne.
Non-alcoholic champagne.
When the Formula One's in town, isn't it? But Ollie, if you wanted to jump in, or James, I saw your hand up as well. You got any news?
Nothing on my end. Right, yeah.
So just can you voice maybe do a summary again for us? So sort of the Israelis were launching a subsequent round of strikes on certain targets, right? How long did that last? What was the fallout from that in the past hour and a half?
Oh my God, you really tackled me. It's hard to get that from from the back of my head here. But yeah, there were 2 waves of attacks. About 200 Israeli fighter jets were participating in each and every one of them. Of course, the first one was hitting the chain of command, which had the entire Air Force leadership meeting in one place. This is something that has to do with the Mossad. There was a lot of intelligence work happening on the ground to get them all to be in the same room, and then to conduct this target. Then you had, of course, a lot of attacks on you had the Iranian Tehran International Airport, you had Natanz, you had Perchin, you had, I really cannot pull them out of my head, computer. I need to look at what got hit.
It's all right, don't worry. I know I put you on the spot there. It was more just generally what we've seen, which is 2 rounds, and now we're waiting effectively for the Iranians to respond. Is that sort of the
Yeah, we're waiting for them to respond, and you see that we are prepared for it. This is a little bit less talked about, but also the Israeli Air Force is operating on the Iraqi-Syria border also to prevent from the Iraqi Shia militias to somehow participate, because like James was mentioning earlier, Hezbollah is off the menu at this point, so they're not going to participate, at least not according to what it looks like. So the IAF is also operating there. Of course, there are extra batteries of David Sling, Arrow 1, Arrow 3 air defense system, and also there are tailored warning of the home front command as well that is also alerting regarding the areas of living. And we constantly get reports about launches of drones, couple of here, couple of there, that are approaching Israel, but none of them really penetrated the Israeli airspace. So this is why it's not big headlines with everything that is happening right now. And I think, this is what is happening right now, basically. A little bit of nuclear component facilities, ballistic missiles launchers. And I think the most interesting thing is that in the initial wave, and I think this is what people should really focus on right now, the Mossad was able to establish for months now launching pads from trucks within Iran. That those drones, those Israeli drones, were actually attacking the air defense systems first before we even saw the big air campaign. And I think this is what's the most interesting part in this entire action. It's not just the Air Force, it's what the Mossad have managed to establish on the ground as well.
True, indeed. I think it goes back to what I was saying about the Ukrainians and the Israelis sort of, I don't know if they're directly learning from each other, so to speak, but it's, you know.
They do.
They do. Yeah, I thought so. But no, I mean, running with your theme was sort of on the menu. I mean, you know, Iran's reeling yet again, and the Israelis are largely, you know, feasting there. They're eating away at assets that the Islamic Republic have or had, and well, they just don't. I mean, if they're going to shoot a bunch of ballistic missiles, it seems a little bit underwhelming. Obviously, not jinx anything, but you know,
it's only enough that fuel goes through. Only fuel can come through and make really big damage if they hit our target.
Absolutely. No, I know. I'm not trying to play that down. It's just, you know, for all the talk that they make all the time, rhetoric. It's underwhelming in the face of things. But James, you had your hand up. I'm sure you want to make some points.
Yeah, I want to make a point about the region. So right now in the situation we are in at the region, the escalations around the region, Iran's position is they want to be the strongest person north of in the North Levant. That's their position. You have Saudi Arabia who's getting more and more control in the peninsula and in North Africa, and now you need Iran needed to be positioned as the strong strong person in the northern part of the Levant. The issue that happened is that when the opportunity was at its best, let's say military-wise, I'm not saying it's a good thing, I'm saying military-wise, October 7th, the Promised 1 attack, the Promised 2 attack, when those attacks happened, we didn't see a mobilization of the entire axis around the attack. And today, that's what's happening to Iran. Iran is on its own because of the military and strategical mistakes that they did. When you attack and you want to go attack an enemy, the person you consider an enemy that's much stronger than you, and you have all those capabilities, you have the ability to go by foot from the north and from groups that are on the territory itself, so bordering the territory. You can throw rockets, you can throw ballistic missiles from afar in order to overwhelm the capability of the defenses of the enemy, and then shoot bigger rockets, bigger ballistic missiles into the territory. You could have overwhelmed the situation enough in order to reach this position. What we've discovered, what we found out, is that it's paper tiger. Like the entire axis in itself have failed. It crumbled every time a decision was taken to attack a certain group from that axis. The same thing happened. Within the first 48 hours to 72 hours, the Tier 1 leadership is gone.
So James, okay, that's always his choice of words. Trump says Israel strikes on Iran might actually boost chances for a nuclear agreement. I don't think so, quote. Maybe the opposite. Maybe now they will negotiate seriously. He still believes a deal is possible. They were close. They should have done it. Maybe now it will happen. Meanwhile, Israel admits the bombing won't fully stop Iran's nukes, but hopes it sets the stage for a US-led deal. So strike first, negotiate
I
later.
generally don't want a deal happen. I generally don't want a deal to happen. No one from the Gulf countries want a deal to happen.
Yeah. Everyone wants the deal to happen. Like everyone wants to reach a position where Iran is abiding by a certain set of understanding and rules that they work on. But what happened is that no one could control what Iran was going to do. That's what happened before. With the damage that's being imposed and the destruction of all its malicious forces in the region, and all the effort, all the IRGC external wings and the IRGC in Afghanistan 2.2, when Israelis or even American or French or UK people are controlling the land inside of Iran. Iran would get out of this through positive. There is no possibility. The question is how much disruption will they accept to take until they reach a deal? Are they?
James, can I just jump in with something from the IDF? This is a statement from the IDF. The IDF attacked the nuclear site in the Isfahan region. At this moment, Air Force fighters is completed an attack on the Iranian regime nuclear site in the Isfahan area under precise intent.
just go out?
Were you know, surprised that Israel, because I think it's important to highlight, we have Israeli drones flying over, for example, we have video of it, of Israeli drones flying over to Greece. I mean, these aren't stealth drones. Let's make it clear. These are not stealth drones. These are just normal drones, like RM-29s that get shot down by the Houthis, right? That's why they're there. But they're freely operating over Iran. We have not seen a single image, video report of Iranian being able to shoot down any Israeli air assets. The irony is the Houthis are having more success against American drones than the Iranians against Israeli drones. And again, these aren't succeeding drones. I mean, what does that tell you? And what does that highlight? Was it, you know, maybe the strike because one of the key targets was the command structure of the Iranian Air Defense Unit, the KHATC. Did that have an effect? Maybe it was Iranian air defense is more powerful. You know, people have talked about it as it was more powerful than it really was. I mean, what does that tell you, Matt?
Yeah, like I'm starting to wonder a couple different things as we look at it. Yeah, number one, they did have a very good effective strike when it comes to knocking out those aerial defense systems, and all of that being pre-coordinated. It's likely some of the first things that ended up getting taken out. I would be surprised if Mossad and their drones, you know, like being launched, didn't have a huge effect on that, on some of these, like,
And that's the issue that I had.
of what some of these things are, but for them to be able to go over and knock out some of these key components that shut those systems down and render them inoperable. When we started seeing some of the Iranian fighter jets getting launched, it was, you know, that F-35 isn't necessarily a cannon, you know, dogfight. It's not really what it's designed for, right? So as those things start to pop up on their radar, they're able to fire freaking, you know, from multiple kilometers away and just start knocking aircraft out of the sky if they absolutely need to. So those F-35s can dominate every single piece of air power that Iran has. So to me, that's what it's at. But the other thing that I look at as well, because I've seen what appear to be images of ballistic missiles and aerial defense systems that are getting knocked down that didn't seem to be manned. And this is the part that really started to make my head turn a little bit. If they're not getting ready fully to go into operation, they're not being manned, but they're getting struck, is that because people are abandoning their equipment, that they're essentially defecting when the word went down on all the leadership that was getting knocked down? So, still waiting to see.
I want to just quickly jump in. Yes, James, I'm going to go to you. I just want to give a quick.
But I have an answer for you, Saika.
I just want to give a quick misinformation alert. There's a video circling around showing apparently claiming that it's an Israeli pilot that had, his plane was shot down, took down, and there's a parachute video. That video apparently is from when Turkey shot down the Russian Su-24. That is not from this recent event. I just wanted to highlight that, everybody. I saw it, people are going to start tagging. That is not from, if there's a report, there's been reports in Iranian Telegram channels indicating an Israeli jet was shot down. And then this video populated, that video appears to be from when Russia lost its Su-24, not related to the current event. Sorry. Jay.
Guys, can you give me 2 minutes? I need to drop off. I just want to make some closing comments, if you don't mind.
Yeah, go on, Hazem, and then I do want to jump in. We've got
not to beat a dead horse, but the whole question regarding North Korea helping, there's no way they can help. I mean, the only way they can help is sending missiles by sea. And it's not the ship that will be taken out if that attempt happens. It's the whole port that will be taken out. The other point I want to make, it's a very important conversation that was happening earlier regarding the oil facilities. The oil facilities are not on the target list at this point for multiple reasons. The U.S. side President Trump has been clear all along that those should not be hit because they affect global markets. On one end, they affect American public opinion. But also, there's a more important aspect that any attack on oil facilities may open, at least in the Iranian regime's mind, the opportunity to strike oil facilities in the region. And that is something that nobody in the region and nobody in the United States want. A final point, actually, to that parachute video, and I've been wanting to mention this for a while. As somebody who have been involved in coordinating air campaigns, I am beyond impressed at the capability, discipline, and technical discipline by the Israeli Air Force. We're talking about a very complex campaign with thousands of miles being flown continuously by each platform. Not a single incident. That is unprecedented. There needs to be a huge kudos to the IAF for being able to maintain such campaign with no incidents, no catastrophic incidents, no catastrophic failure. Yeah, go ahead.
Breaking news.
I'm done. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. I do want to break in. This was shared. What was this? A couple minutes ago. So this was IDF spokesman, Brigadier General F.E. Deffer press conference was cut short due to military headquarters going on high alert. While taking questions at the Kira military headquarters in Tel Aviv, a loudspeaker could be heard announcing that the base is going into defensive standby, alert meaning that it is preparing for an attack. As of now, no ballistic missiles have been launched from Iran. This was 6 minutes ago, but the Kira did go into heightened alert during a live press conference. James, I saw your hand up. And then there's others, but James, I don't know if you have other breaking news.
Okay.
Or voice, go ahead.
No, it's just that it connects to the question you asked, and before, sorry James, but I'm sure you will ask me before the discussion goes to somewhere else. You asked how can it be that Israeli drones can operate on the ground on Iranian soil while the Iranian drones are not being that successful. Now, if we already established that we have Mossad teams and other human assets that are being there on the ground and of course helping this entire operation, so well that they have actually managed to launch those drones undetected from all these mobile launching pads, then you have to understand that whatever forces that are on the ground, they also have probably portable jammers. So they are like sort of like a man pack that can disrupt radio frequency, GPS signals, telemetry signals. You know, they can do GPS spoofing. So they could basically have spoofing devices. They can be next to the Kashan Air Base, for example, and disrupt communications there. That will be very hard for the Iranian regime or the military to launch anything over there when there is no communication. You have that also in Israel. They're doing it sometimes in Israel when there is a conflict with Lebanon. I don't see a reason why they won't be able to do it there and physically compromise antennas, cut power to GCS. So I mean, might explain what. And if I had to bet on it, I would put a suitcase of money that that's the case.
So I wanted just to talk quickly about, thank you, Voice, a couple of points. So let's not forget the attack started around 20 hours ago, a bit less, 18 to 20 hours ago. It has been a continuous back and forth with the time it takes to go back, refuel, restock, and to operate and strike. It started with an assassination of the top leadership, and then everything from there were attacks on locations, like important military locations, especially related to the ballistic missiles and to the nuclear program that Iran has. What I want to talk about is right now we're starting to get what seems to be a wake up from the Iranian media apparatus on Twitter and on other areas start talking about shooting down planes, and then their air defense is starting to work, drones being hit, and the possibility of an attack in the next couple of minutes or couple of hours. All of this is like, I think 20 hours, not too late, but we were expecting a faster response, which shows how Israel took the Iranian by surprise. What I want to add is please make sure that when you get information like the drone, like the F-35 being hit, I wanted to ask Matt this question if he's available. Do you really believe?
Sorry, James, just to jump in, mate. Voice, you just said that apparently there are missiles now being launched towards Israel. That's coming from her because she's obviously in Israel and she's received an alert, nationwide red alerts in the coming minutes, according to Home Front Command. That also comes from Fate Took News. So it looks like the Iranian response has begun of some form now. be great to see exactly what, and obviously for everyone in the...
Let them come, Kitover.
We're giving you as much updates as we can, but
just let me,
yeah.
thank you. Let me just ask the question to Matt. Matt, what's the probability that the defense system could shoot an F-35 or an F-15? The Iranian air defense system could shoot one of those planes down, because that's what's being reported right now.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, no, that's their best shot is going to be the S-300s from the Russians, and they were rumored to have the S-400s. So if they had S-400s, then it might be their best shot at getting it done. But I don't think they actually have. I only saw one report last year that Iran possibly had it. But what we've learned from the Ukraine war about the Russian S-300 system is that they're not nearly as formidable as we had thought they would be. So I would put very low probability that the S-300s are going to be able to take care of that. Plus, again, when we go back, we start talking about the different intel on the ground that was able to assassinate all of this happen. It's just highly improbable.
Well, following up on that, what do we know about the Iranian capabilities then? What do we know about the Iranian capabilities and responding in
Those things you say.
In which way? Was it
Responding back towards Israel? Is that your question?
one, responding back to Israel, and two, is protecting whatever is coming from Israel?
Yeah, protecting what's coming from Israel, their best shots, and likely Israel is actually launching a bunch of cruise missiles from
the Iranians, than Israel can do it to any other country in the region.
Wait me real quick, bro. I got a question. I need tech support.
I will always have hope for Palestine. Within the borders of Palestine, we can deal a heavy cost to the Israelis as long as we're not expelled. Other than that, everything happening outside of Palestine is a complete frustration by everybody, the Turks, the Arabs, the Iranians.
Look, there's a guy.
It's great, bro.
Don't let it sit in here. We don't know things. Left, right, left, right, left, right, left.
May I make a quick comment? Sure. I am Israel always. So I went into the history of it. And I understand that the Brits were there after the war. Correct me if I'm wrong, somebody, because it was part of the Ottoman Empire. And the Brits, this is also the First World War, the Brits, the French, and I think there was another nation. Dumb as fuck.
Yeah, it's not the Europeans, which were born, they didn't got any children. Targets, and again, if they do have a nuclear warhead, now would be the time for them to use it, to be perfectly honest, because the regimes in
in danger of losing power, right? Like desperate times call for desperate measures type things. But quantity definitely is going to end up being one of those things that Iran is going to be looking at using in order to get those missiles through. The question is how accurate are they going to be? And that's where I tend to get a little worried with the accuracy of the missiles. They end up trying to take out the locations like Mossad. They try to have that again. They launch,
The Arabs
20
refused the offer of a state and determined together to wipe out the Jewish state. I'll mute now and you keep going if you.
Real quick, so I can stay organized. Don't forget what you're going to say, Jay. But remember, we're talking about apartheid, right? Is it happening or is it not? So hold on, Jay. Just trying to keep track. You know, if anybody wants to help make sense out of El Normo's counter argument, you know. If you talk over me, horrible, I will smack the I will put you to good.
Okay.
So great. I think that if somebody wants to help me. It did make sense. If it made sense to anybody else, then that'd be great. You know.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna mark it down as apartheid.
Yeah.
And I hope you know what you're talking about because I think you just got the.
Yeah, I mean, Norm is right to characterize the situation as very complex and tragic.
Is someone going to speak to the apartheid part?
Yeah, I was about to go there. I'm sorry. I always kind of try to put my conversation into larger context. So yeah, a lot of what Norm says is true. However, I have to say, you know, I'm a very, very fair person. I don't think it justifies anything with what's going on in Gaza right now. It's a tragedy and it's horrific.
Apartheid is it not?
I think so. I think it is.
All right, so you can't do that requested. Thank you. Hopefully you can chime in something else.
Oh well. You want specific examples? Yeah, sorry, I have to do my homework.
I need somebody that's going to help support Normo's counter argument, so I can make sure I'm being fair, figure out how to judge each point at a time.
Well, yeah, I mean, Gazans can't leave, enter Israel, and come out of Israel freely.
That's not what I'm requesting.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
By the way, 40,000 Gazans came into Israel per day to work. We paid them 10 times what they would get paid in Gaza, and they returned home. Those people later invaded and slaughtered the people that employed them, and the Gaza envelope is the cheaper.
I wouldn't sweeping generalization on.
All right, so we've got it. It's apartheid. So I have that noted. Let's move on to whatever else. I guess Jay, you wanted some clarity before we move on to the next incident. Go ahead, Jay. Hopefully you didn't forget.
I kind of have, but it's okay, it's not a problem.
Okay.
Question is, are you looking for evidence to support your claim?
We got that. Like I said, we're moving on. Unless somebody can provide some kind of counter argument. You might have just got in, but go ahead and provide the evidence for the claim.
So was there a law or a policy of racial discrimination anywhere in Israel? Did anybody come up with an answer?
Detail that.
So he feels it outside.
That's why it's important to stay organized.
Yeah.
See how we grow. Like I don't want to be.
He didn't say apartheid. He said it was intention to dominate and inhumane, and it was systematic oppression outside.
We didn't say that all three of those things met the requirements for apartheid based on
yes, international law. Now listen,
international law.
Can anybody provide a counter argument? If not, we're just going to move on to the next thing.
Quickly though, I need a question. So Norm was talking about Gaza, not in Israel, like proper.
No,
do you know what I mean? Oh no, I disagree with him.
Okay, well, it's apartheid. I got it marked down.
Yeah, it's 100%.
Aside from it. Okay. Next.
I was just calling real quick. It would seem like by that loose definition, practically every country being a little dishonest.
What's an area in the United States where two people are occupying the same area?
That wasn't the definition. That wasn't the definition. The definition was a separate system. Have you ever heard that there's two different legal systems in the U.S.? One for she asked anyone disagreed with this assessment, so I started to speak, and now you're cutting me off. So I was questioning and respond. Have you heard that there are two separate legal systems in the U.S.? Yes.
The exceptional nigger and his unexceptional nigger.
I didn't hear that. What'd you say?
Smokey. Yes, Sheriff. You make these gentlemen a receipt for $12,000, please. $12,000. Pleasure doing business.
I think with Native Americans, they have self-governance in some area.
I hear you, brother, and I feel like you're trying to contribute in good faith, but like, you know, it is a little bit disruptive. Like I'm trying to.
Spending too much time on it. Just go right ahead, pass.
I'd like to hear from the person who actually said it. You know what I'm saying?
I was referring to the different justice systems for African Americans versus their counterparts.
Oh, great. Yes, perfect. Got it.
But the other guy made up a good point. There are separate territories, like Norm was mentioning, Zone A, B, and C, where reservations are under different jurisdictions, different laws than people that aren't in those jurisdictions. So that would seem apartheid as well.
You know, that would seem apartheid. Hold on, no, because we're having a back and forth. We're having a back and forth. Please control yourself. Please fucking control yourself. So yeah, that's actually not anything at all. Like, no, Native American reservations are not operating in an apartheid type of manner. It feels condescending to explain that to a grown adult. So I don't really want to go beyond that statement. That's a ridiculous assertion to make. Nobody is getting profiled for not living or for not being Native American when they're in a reservation. Like, that's not a fucking thing that happens. That is the most unbelievably bad faith argument you could possibly make in this scenario, which is why I was saying that there's no point in arguing with science. So if we're talking about African, if you're talking about the two justice systems, so if you're talking about, please shut the fuck up so I can finish talking, please. Excellent. Please remain shutting the fuck up. Yeah, so when you're talking about two justice systems, I think that it would be a great argument to make that America is operating under a highly oppressive state against black people. The thing is that there are not actual law, and again, this feels condescending to say to a grown adult because it's obviously stupid. There are not two literal justice systems in America. That is something that black people are trying to convince white people of a reality of an oppressive state that we live under in this country. So if you're arguing that, like, well, America is an apartheid state too, then I would say, cool, we might be a little closer aligned than you fucking think. But I don't think that that's the assertion that you're making. There are not two literal legal systems for black people. It's just that one group is persecuted more, prosecuted more, illegally arrested more than any other group in this country. But there are not two actual legal systems for black people. You gotta be a fucking idiot to think that anybody would even take that kind of argument seriously.
There are 3 points of oppression, but my main point was the Arab world's clearly apartheid, and I just threw in the United States as an extra bonus. But your definition didn't say two separate legal systems. The 3 points specifically included power and oppression, correct? Of different ethnicity.
I was simply just
seems very vague. It could be applied to a lot of countries.
Okay, so it seems very clear that in the Arab world, a tax system exists between Muslims and non-Muslims, making every Arab country an apartheid state. Thank you.
Yeah, but you didn't list that. You didn't hit any of, you didn't hit all the three.
Which one wasn't it?
Rohan hit all three, right?
So, you mean as far as the legal framework for apartheid?
Yeah.
Yes,
This
it
is not
says,
a legal, this is a made-up framework, it's not the definition of
bro,
apartheid.
everything in the world is made up.
No, apartheid actually has a meaning.
Yes.
That's why we're protesting in South Africa.
I'm not looking for the meaning, I think you all understand the meaning, what I'm looking for is the requirement to, you know, make it that to the, you know, description. Yeah, the criteria.
Yes. I think in this case, the meaning is in the requirement. So like if we establish,
Exactly. No,
right, so.
I mean, we can go ahead, I mean, if you guys really want to state the meaning and then what we're looking for criteria.
I do think like a criteria would be good to
I mean, it helps hammer
establish.
it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what I wanted to read.
Right.
I'm trying to. So, here it is. This definition is from the 1973 Apartheid Convention. I would imagine that they may know something about apartheid. And it comes under the Rome Statute, which is from the International Court of Appeals, the International Criminal Court. And between those two, they established three elements for apartheid. Those elements are: 1, intent to dominate one group by another; 2, systematic oppression; and 3, inhumane acts. Those are the three things that establish apartheid by international courts.
That is wild. And was anybody ever brought up on these charges and had the opportunity to confront their defense? It's very wild. And had the opportunity to confront their accuser and provide the evidence that that ever happened, or is this not something that somebody decided ex parte? So, just wondering. I think we're a friend. You're out of, you don't have any audio.
Which one of those points does the Muslim governments not do to the non-Muslims within the Arab world? It seems very obviously clear that the non-Muslims meet all three of those points of oppression, power dynamics, marginalization, violence.
But this will be one of them.
Non-Muslim populations within the Muslim Arab world.
Well, this will be whataboutism, right? Because
No, but no theory is everyone's an apartheid state. There's many apartheid states now.
Okay,
You're kind of claiming Israel seems to be this lone,
I'm not.
apartheid state in the world.
No, that's your. Yeah, no, but he's saying technically only apartheid state in the world. We're talking about Israel right now. Like, you want to talk about the answer? We can do that.
Yeah, the problem I'm hearing is the moment Rohan or anybody says, let's just narrow this down to Israel. I've heard people say, okay, well, let's talk about America. Let's talk about what they're doing in Antarctica. Like, we're talking about a specific thing, and it seems like you're trying to obfuscate or distract us from the conversation.
No, I think what he's doing is he's halfway admitting that it's an apartheid state, but so is everything else.
No, I was trying to say, I hear outrage all day long about Israel being an apartheid. Not once in the past 2 years have I heard any mention of not one Arab country being an apartheid state. So given that you guys care so much about justice, freedom, and individual liberty, I just find that quite alarming and somewhat surprising. And I don't believe it's whataboutism. I believe it's a critique of your intentions and your values.
Jihadis, if you're right, we're hypocrites. Now what?
Hold on for a second. I think racism is insane that you're going to go immediately to Arabs. So, all right, so listen, right now, I don't see any pushback on Israel being apartheid.
Oh, awesome.
And then, one second, Romo. And I guess if you guys want to entertain this, I'm fine with it, you know, what Jihadis said. I think what you should do, Jihadis, is the same thing that Dora will request everyone do. So go ahead and give us, you know.
No, I don't think Rohan came to prove he said sounds illegal.
subject, like in Mexico, we're not subject to their legal system. I pointed that out. Outside of Israel, the Israeli citizens are subject to the Israeli legal system, and non-Israelis are not. That seems fair to me.
Yeah, I understand that.
Yeah, they're subject, by the way, they're subject to Palestinian Authority law, by the way, which is the same thing. So Jews don't enjoy the benefits of Palestinian Authority law. In fact, we're not allowed into the Palestinian Authority
There is
area.
no, what benefit?
So yeah, what happened there? So you said that.
Living, thriving,
Building,
living, thriving
where are they
in the Palestinian Authority. In area A. In area A. It's quite rich, actually. I was just there. It's very
It's
rich.
quite interesting because
Yes.
you're talking about area A.
Yes, I am.
How do you get over there? You just drive straight. You get
Yes.
to take a checkpoint.
There's one checkpoint leaving
Yeah, okay,
Israel.
there you go. There, right there. The fact that they cannot move. All right, you already there you go. There goes to where Rohan Deville is too. Because they are.
That's crossing the border. When you leave Israel, you cross the border. You leave the country. So there's a checkpoint.
What happens when Palestinians try to go into any, I don't know what you want to call it.
Okay. When an Arab comes in, when a non-citizen Arab comes into an Israeli area, they are checked. When a non-citizen Israeli goes into an Arab area, they are checked. Often they're killed, by the way. There's no difference there. That's not a separate legal system. I'm telling you, I'm just there. What do you want to know?
All right, so listen, this is what happened, right? So when you said that, I don't think people were really understanding what you said. So I opened the floor. So hold on. So I opened the floor for anyone else to support your counter argument. We didn't get much. I know we got a whataboutism, and I get it. We will. I said we can entertain that too, but you just provide the proof the same way Rohan did. If you guys want to entertain it, but you're saying that people aren't seeing it, even the people on your side, unless they take another stab at it. Anyone want to support what Normal said?
Well, this is
not move on to the next. Yes.
This is the strength of an argument, not anybody's support. Rohan mentioned vague things. Oppression, inhumane, dominate. He didn't give one single example except for separate legal systems. And I pointed out that Israelis have an Israeli legal system, and Palestinians have a Palestinian legal system. They're different.
So this is actually
not apartheid. That's not apartheid.
I actually have written down what I said. So here it is. But you gotta go on mute. I'm sorry, I'm gonna interrupt you. So the HRW documented widespread policies affecting Palestinians, including
name one, yeah.
What the fuck? Are you?
Oh my God,
bro! You gotta be. My 3-year-old nephew doesn't do this.
Including.
Name one. Anyhow, you just want me to say it again. Documented widespread policies affecting Palestinians, including, and I read this before, movement restrictions, checkpoints, barriers, land confiscation, home demolitions, forcible displacement, denial of residency, and dual legal systems. Dual legal systems was number 4 on the list.
So, no examples of any of the others, right? Or am I wrong? Not one example.
All those are compatible with it not being apartheid. Do they have a specific, like here's a specific case where the government said, hey, because of your ethnicity or race, you can't do this? Or is it like security issues? Like, can we actually get details to what it is?
I would say exactly where I'm coming from.
So now, wait, hold on, I just want people to see what just happened. First thing was, the only thing I mentioned was dual laws. Turns out that's not
the only one we can talk about.
Oh my God.
You can't help it. It's like, you can't help it. There's something about impulse control and IQ that we won't get into, like impulse control and rational thinking. But I want to post those. I'm going to post those in the chat. I'm going to post those in the chat in a little bit. We're going to talk about impulse control and how it correlates with poor rational thinking. That'll be my last.
Don't forget to include the fragility.
Hold on. I want to get this out. Hold on. So I want people to realize what just happened. We slid from the only thing I mentioned was dual laws. Turns out that was number 4 on the list. So without even saying, you know what, I was wrong about that, they're now trying to slide to, well, and then give specific examples. Instead of saying, let's go to the specific examples, because there are many. There are many.
That's my, well, let's have one.
So,
Because I never, this is my first time calling Mike really traveling, because I'm kind of agnostic, you know, what's this to me.
okay, cool. So I'm gonna go through the report now from it's actually called Abusive Israeli Policies Constitute Crimes of Apartheid and Persecution, Crimes Against Humanity Should Trigger Action to End Repression of Palestinians. This is by the Human Rights Watch. So I'm gonna go through now and make some examples for you guys. But just don't keep moving the goalposts.
Well,
it's embarrassing for your argument to keep doing that. Give me some time.
I think there's a lot of confusion on what these areas even are. I mean, no one keeps trying to draw the distinctions. Remember, actually, the goalpost is actually kind of different. The first claim was Israel is an apartheid state. The West Bank isn't Israel. Unless you want to say that's Israel, then okay, then all those Palestinians no longer get that West Bank. Then I guess Oslo, of course, has been solved. I guess they annexed it. But if you don't want to make that claim, and that is going to eventually be a Palestinian state, maybe, then what is the claim? That Israel shouldn't have their laws be put on them.
Does that still mean that idea of Israel is the West Bank again?
The white terrorism.
What terrorism? What do you mean? What terrorism?
And argue like Germany.
For example, of Hamas, Palestinian Islamic Jihad in the city of Jenin and to Qatar, as we've been fighting.
Okay, so probably West. So West.
So there are massive weapons caches, and
Where's the proof of that?
Well, we photographed it.
Come on now, it's like you're on some mass destruction shit. Where?
I mean, no, not weapons of mass destruction.
Put the link in.
Sure. Okay.
You're saying that you're very weapons of mass destruction.
But I didn't say weapons of mass destruction.
I know you did. That was maybe a reference. Okay.
Like a joke or something?
Everybody thought that it was a joke or a metaphor. Okay.
So, do you want to list the terrorist organization in Geneva?
Go right ahead.
You want the proof of the terrorist in Geneva?
Yeah, you provide explanation and I put the proof in the chat.
With the proof.
Okay.
Of what you claim is in the West Bank, the idea has to go with it. You're talking about,
So, first I'll read it to you and then I'll put it in the chat. Hang on. It's coming up. Okay. This is from January 23rd, 2025. That's the first thing that came up. So, gunmen in Jenin attack Jews in Israel and in Judea and Samaria. They are run by both Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad. By the way, some of them in Jenin participated in the October 7th attack and in numerous terrorist attacks in Israel proper. They actually come into Israel, despite what you were falsely calling apartheid. They do come in and go in Israel. I just put the first thing that came up, I just did terrorism in Geneva. There is a ton of it. Israel's been fighting a war for survival for decades. So let's go to another one. France 24. This weeks-long West Bank operation. They have terrorist infrastructure there. I'm going to copy that, and I'm going to paste that in the chat. That's from France 24. I mean, there's so many examples that you go, oh, it's just not allowing. Okay.
So let's talk about some of the illegal things that Israel has done in the West Bank, right?
Well, no, I'll tell you one thing about terrorism. You want to change me to go away from the terrorism?
No,
It's in the chat. I don't know.
perfect.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't even mention the paper slave program that the West Bank area had.
Like, I thought you said there was you mentioned weapons. Where's the pictures of your weapons?
Okay.
Where's
The link I sent has a weapon.
Where are those pictures of your weapons?
Hang on.
The one I sent, the link I sent.
This just looks like
The link I sent.
it's a bullshit article. You don't even see nothing going on. You're like, what
It's
is
a bullshit article.
What is this?
Okay.
Where
Hang on.
is it?
Why did you read it? And you will know what it is. Hang on. Now, Googling them. Numerous weapons caches discovered in Jenin, a city in the West Bank known for first of all as a hub for Palestinian
No, I'm ready whenever the street clears.
I just gave you the weapons catfish, by the way. I mean, there's tons of it. It's like every day they're doing it.
Okay, cool. Alright, so
We're at a wall with that.
this
Yeah.
he is crazy.
Crazy? So I know what I'm talking about. Stop interrupting. How is this hard?
He doesn't have the ability.
I'm the one person on the stage defending the Jews. The one person. Hey, and how about you? Hey, I'm gonna Google him.
Alright, get out of here many times.
That's what I'm does. You're not a lawyer, sir.
Okay, cool. So, some people were asking for examples. So I'll get right into examples. But I didn't want to say that that argument that keeps coming up about Israel's state and what happens inside the state to me is nonsensical, because if somebody said, well, World War II Germany, were they really terroristic against the Jews? Because most of the murders of Jews happen outside of Germany. Nobody will make that argument, right? Because it's silly. It's an embarrassing argument to keep making. But
That's not what I'm saying.
I am gonna keep reading. So let me get to my point. For examples, torture and abuse in detention. So this is documented by the UN Committee Against Torture, Human Rights Watch, the Israeli Human Rights NGO, and Public Committee Against Torture in Israel. Methods reported: beating during interrogation, stress position, sleep deprivation, threats of rape or harm to detainees or their families, excessive isolation, tight handcuffing, continuous physical abuse.
An Israel child and what support to the Indian LGBTQ community. Hello, once. Welcome to New York.
For Israel. And children. Many Palestinian minors have been subjected to physical and psychological abuse. Documented by UNICEF and the Defense for Children International and multiple other organizations. It said in 2013, UNICEF found that the children in contact with the military detention system appears to be widespread, systematic, and institutionalized,
for trans liberation.
widespread, and is like
Our
built
old
into the
Jewish
institutions.
pioneer, he sparked a revolution in the 1920s with the first gender-affirming surgeries at his Institute for Sexual Science.
Yeah, that's what it said.
Hope,
Do you guys have a problem?
repairing a world of love for all identities. But the evil Nazis torched his institute in 1933, burned our precious transgender books, trying to erase it.
So the use of administrative detention, Palestinians held without charge or trial for years, usually often evidence of the military law, international norms were used extensively. As of 2024, 1,200 Palestinians were in administrative detention, and there were no charges, and they cannot defend themselves in court. These charges were it says no charges, cannot defend themselves in court, often renewed endlessly. And then it goes into talk about the blockades, severe restrictions of movement, humanitarian crises, shortage of medicine, fuel, clean water, and building materials, collapse of the economy, frequent intentional electricity blackouts. Then it goes on to excessive force and killings, using live ammunition against unarmed protesters. Over 200 Palestinian protesters killed in one protest. Home demolition, they use it as punishment against families of suspected attackers, condemned by the UN, a major human rights group, as collective punishment and inhumane treatment. So, in summary, torture, detention, ill treatment of children, inhumane treatment, torture of children, administrative detention, blockade, excessive force. I mean, this is documented by the UN, UNICEF, HRW, the CRC, Amnesty International, on and on and on. This is not Rohan speaking. So I'll rest it. I mean, there's so much more. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'm just not sure what the argument, like, all of them are bad. Bad thing being apartheid. Oh, no. Really need to catch out what the fuck we mean by this word. You read off a bunch of bad things, but
that range with how we usually use it. I mean, if that's what we mean by apartheid, fine. This was an apartheid state. I don't even care about that point, but that just doesn't seem how like we typically use it.
Are you saying it doesn't meet the criteria for apartheid as defined in international law?
No, that just doesn't seem how we use apartheid. What he just named, like detention, harsh treatment. Like that's we do that to African Americans. I don't think we say we live in an apartheid state. And then you might say it's a different degree, yada yada yada. But I can also just say they're in wartime. Just terrorist awareness. Yeah.
So do you think it's just a coincidence that all the major organizations that study apartheid have come to this conclusion? I mean, is that, hold on, no, I want to finish my sentence for one time. This time I want to finish my sentence. Do you think that it's just a coincidence that all the major organizations that study this, the people with expertise, with knowledge of what's happening, with case studies, matter of fact, I'm going to post some case studies next, with case studies, that they all come to the same conclusion? Is that just a coincidence, or could there be another reason why they all come to the same conclusion?
I mean, yeah, it could be possible there's apartheid. I'd say it's not apartheid, but what you've read doesn't seem to be anything like apartheid. I would just love to see them actually take this to court and be like, hey, you're doing apartheid because you're, fucking up kids and torturing them. That's what apartheid means. It's fair, okay, sure, that's what we mean by apartheid. But until then, it just seems like we're listing all bad things and saying bad things equal apartheid.
Are you saying that these bad things don't meet the criteria for apartheid, or you're saying yes, it does, but it doesn't?
No, it doesn't seem like any of those things meet. Yeah, it doesn't seem like any of those things meet any necessary condition of apartheid.
And Rohan, just to be clear, where did you get that that source from? Where is that coming from?
Which one? This.
No, the criteria.
Well, the criteria comes from, let me go back up real quick. That criteria that I listed comes from, show it to me. Here it is. It comes, so it says, these are applied definitions from the 1973 Apartheid Convention. Let me post that in the chat. And the Rome Statute from the International Criminal Courts. These establish 3 elements for apartheid: intent, oppression, and inhumane acts. Yeah.
So.
And the oppression is. What's the intent part? I didn't hear the intent part.
Sure. God fucking damn. Intent to dominate one group by another.
Oh, what's the evidence of that? Oh, you have evidence of the intent part? Oh, show me. Hopefully, I would like to see that.
Oh my God.
Okay, yeah.
Persecution of Muslims. Persecution of Muslims.
Oh, I mean, that shows in what, I mean, what? Persecution of Muslims? Wait, there's persecution of Muslims? Okay. Yeah, you have to list off, like, cases of that. Yeah, I'm not sure persecution of Muslims. That's not even persecution of Palestinians. Because if you mean persecution of Palestinians, not every Palestinian is Muslim. You're Christian Palestinians.
Sure.
I don't know why he brought up
What do you
Muslims.
mean by
I don't
Muslims?
know why.
Yeah,
Even though Palestinians, why he decided to bring religious out.
Let's keep it religious. Keep it pretty secular. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, like, I think that's going to be very hard to show. That's for sure.
Wait. All right. So what do you need to meet that criteria?
I mean, there may be a couple things. It might be subjective. One thing is going to be classified data or something like that shows, like, hey, this is elite, that we have intentions to dominate these people. This isn't because we're in a military or warfare situation.
Sounds good. All right, here you go. Here is Netanyahu giving his intent. There's another source, if you don't like Al Jazeera.
What is this supposed to be?
Here's his intent. He's showing intent.
Wait. Intent for what? Intent for what?
Taking over. That was
That's not even what's in contention. The contention is about the apartheid situation in the West Bank. laws over there. Because if you were to do that, then it would be Israeli state. Well, Israel, I
Okay,
should
so
say.
then we should look for the proof. Are you guys interested in doing so? Look for the proof of that, and then in the meantime, why don't you tell me what the intent? In the meantime, why don't you tell me what the intent is by your interpretation?
I think the intent is to keep things as afloat as you can. During the circumstance, given the context. I think you do have a bunch of agendas going on. And by I say that, I mean you have the settlements going on in the West Bank as far as Area C. So you have a lot of moving parts going on there. The apartheid system that they're still be talking about is going to be situations where Palestinians are going to Area C, putting up houses, and they're demolishing them because those are illegal. The same thing Jews can't do that in Area A. Are we going to call Area A an apartheid state because if a Jew puts the house there, it's going to get demolished? It seems kind of silly. It's just a different. I understand it's a totally different from what we're used to. It's totally different, but it's. I'll say this: if you want to call it apartheid, fine, but it will never be finished. We'll never clear
Hey, look at
apartheid.
the last three,
That's why I just want to finish this.
It says Israel is moving towards full annexation of the West Bank.
That's fine.
That's their intention.
Well, they do. Well, that's not going to be dominated. If they do annex it,
that's all.
But I'm just be clear, if they do annex it, then they will be Israel, and those people will be presumably become citizens or get pushed out, and therefore the apartheid will end.
The intent is there. Each one of those things that I sent you has his.
But that wouldn't be apartheid. With annexing it wouldn't be apartheid.
Bro,
Can I try?
The intent to dominate. Can you go ahead?
Sure. Intent to dominate is not intent to annex.
Hold on, I want him to read the rest of it.
Yes, intent to dominate one group or another.
Right. That's fine.
Within the same country, right? It has to be within the same country to be considered apartheid, right? Yes or no?
I don't know actually. I don't think it seems like it would have to be no. It seems like it would have to.
Right.
It just intuitively to me, it just seems like it would have to be the case. I think it's maybe something special. No, I don't know. But I don't know. Maybe that is.
So identical intent go like this. It says here. The goal of the settlement policy was to create a permanent Jewish presence to prevent the establishment of a Palestinian state. It says this shows intent to dominate. The policy of permanent settlement is designed to make
apparently out of the 150, only 9 of them,
keeping Jewish Israelis as a dominant group. In addition, the Jewish legal system is not incidental. The system was designed and maintained intentionally to provide superior legal status to one ethnic group over another. Then it says movement restrictions. It says, and I quote, personal security is not the only consideration behind these restrictions. Demographic and political considerations are at play. So when movement restrictions are used, not just for short-term security, but to control the ability of a population to move, develop economically, or organize politically, this is domination. Then it quotes Netanyahu saying that over the settlements, every community will remain under Israeli sovereignty. Intent to dominate. Then it talks about denial of rights to return citizenship laws. So it says, it's quoting Justice Minister saying, Israel must ensure a Jewish majority. That is the basis of our policy. This shows the intent to dominate through citizenship and residency policies explicitly prioritizing and preserving Jewish demographic dominance. So, and there's more. It's like, so these were intentional policies put in place to dominate another group.
I think that means you're right here. I think that means that.
You can just send it to me.
I've never made it. I've never made it permanent.
Greetings from Israel's eternal end.
We now know that there's more. wanted to go, but that's
what Rohan is showing. Yes, that's what. Wait, just look this. Okay, I said what the biggest thing is. Granted, is exposure to the serious intent. I asked Rohan. Rohan was given. I am relaxed. I'm relaxed. Rohan was given evidence for intent. He read it off, and now I'm asking Rohan, can you send it to me? You just send it to me. I'm gonna read through it. It's not that hard to track what happened.
Yeah, you got way too many words. I don't know why you had to repeat that for some weird reason.
Because you don't understand. Every time I say it, you repeat something
Where do you
different.
want to go from here? What do you want to do? What do you want to do next?
No, at this point, he needs to read what Rohan sent. I think Rohan said, did you send it? Just send something.
We're gonna wait till they read.
High breaking news, multiple rockets have struck in the heart of Tel Aviv.
Did they land?
Well, you said some rockets hit Tel Aviv.
Did they land?
He does that all the time. He goes into rooms and does that.
No, look at the news, schmuck.
Yeah, as of 2 minutes ago, Iran strikes are shaking buildings in Israel. I took like,
Yeah, but did they land though?
Iran's retaliatory strikes have shaken buildings in Israel, according to former Israeli ambassador. It says Iran fired hundreds of various ballistic missiles towards Israel. And what? Tehran, yeah, I know, I'm trying to get to the point.
Dang it.
But it looks like they have to have landed. Some of them have to have landed because from the picture I'm seeing right now, it's showing rocket trails.
That could be, yeah, but they could have shot it down and the debris could have came down.
True. Alright, I dropped the link real quick.
Yeah, please do. I'm gonna keep my hopes up.
Okay, there it is.
You're gonna keep your hopes up because innocent people died, you sick, twisted bitch. Go look in the mirror and then go to the gym and unfuck your brain, you twisted slut, whore, filthy, vile cunt. Wishing for people's death. Oh yeah, is that what it's like in the ghetto? You wish for people to die on your street, you sick, twisted bitch.
Yeah, you don't care about murder.
Oh man, we got him, bitch. We got him, bitch.
Oh my god, I'm so excited. No, wait, what the fuck are you panda-ing?
Yeah, let's move on.
It's just stop. Shh. It's
Shush
fine.
what? Shush what? Who are you? Who is this? I've been looking at my phone. I don't know why I'm supposed to shush what? Who is that?
I also agree with you about this, but I'm not gonna openly rejoice. Let's keep it.
Okay, that's you.
So if I can try at this, basically there is Israel
Yes,
proper,
I
right?
landed. Sorry. I thought it was you.
Wait. There is. Oh, okay. Mashallah. Okay. There is Israel proper. Then there's other disputed territories. Let's say Gaza, West Bank. What else? East Jerusalem. What's the other one? The last one? Golden Heights, right? So if you can indeed, let's just say, apartheid non-citizens or whatever the case may be, like does that then that is apartheid. But if apartheid is only within a country, within its own borders or whatever the case may be, then it's not apartheid. You should. Does that make sense? Does that make sense, guys?
I'm sorry, can you explain it again?
It depends on apartheid. For example, in Russia and Ukraine, Russia would be committing apartheid. There's like a disputed territory, right? And I don't even know if Ukraine would be considered committing apartheid. those are not Israel proper, right? And that's what you guys are saying there is apartheid.
You gave yourself a bad example.
Yeah, I know, but you see what I mean, though, right?
Can I respond to that directly?
Yeah, of course.
Sure. So it says, apartheid does not have to be limited to within a country's own borders. While apartheid is most famously associated with the internal policies of South Africa, the legal definition of apartheid under international law is broader and can apply extraterritorially, that is beyond a state's own border.
Oh, then it's apartheid 100%. Where's the lawyer that was here that lied to us about the law and stuff like this? He's actually right there. Normal, come up for a second.
I forgot he was still in the audience. So I don't know if he was
No, they're not. We have a definition. So yes, you can be committing apartheid in non-Israel proper. Does that make sense? Golan Heights, West Bank, Gaza, the other one.
That's why I'm so annoyed, man.
Gaza's an apartheid state too? I had to come back to hear that. You think Gaza's an apartheid state? How?
Anyhow, states or entities, that argument is so stupid. Will you guys stop making it? Can be held responsible for apartheid practices they carry out in territories they control or occupy, even if those territories are outside their former sovereign borders. Again, nobody would argue, well, World War II Germany wasn't really all the way terroristic because the Jews were mostly gassed in foreign countries. It's similar enough just to say that the location of the actual apartheid actions is meaningless. It means nothing.
Being similar enough is what that's meaningless. Like that, did you straw man the point?
No, it's a parallel.
My definition is straw man the point.
No, the parallel is, here's a parallel. Here's what makes it an analogy that works. Because it doesn't have to be the same thing to be an analogy, right? If it were the same thing, it would not be an analogy.
I'm not saying it's not the same thing. I'm saying the analogy's property is false, actually.
Right, okay, so let's talk about it. We're talking about if bad actions taken by a state, if the location of those actions determine this particular definition that we're talking about. So the location of the actions is meaningless.
By the way, that's not me or Norm's argument either, by the way.
Oh, okay. So now we're moving to another argument.
I never said anything about location.
When is it in the
Norm tried to correct you earlier when you tried to do that horrible thing with this, like.
But it is location.
It's very
location thing. It has nothing to do with location.
What? So West Bank Como, what is it? West Bank Como.
West Bank Como. I don't know.
The point is, being inside or outside the borders make absolutely no difference on how we determine if a state is terroristic or apartheid-like or not.
I agree. That's why that wasn't me, North. Just why we get wrong.
Oh my gosh, that was the point the whole time.
No, it wasn't. And nor even tried to say it wasn't.
The entire time.
Christ.
More of them made that stupid point. We never made that point. At least I didn't. I'll be clear. Say I never made it.
Hey, T, am I crazy?
No, Horrible was responding to his point.
So is your point that Israel is horrible? Is your point that Israel is horrible, or is your point that Israel is apartheid or has an apartheid system?
It has apartheid system by definition in Gaza, West Bank, East Jerusalem, Golan Heights.
I don't think you want to say all that. Let's just pick one. Otherwise, you don't really know what you're talking about. Like you don't know what about Jerusalem. Let's take one at a time.
Okay.
So where is there apartheid?
Okay, let's take West Bank.
Okay. Well, we go to there. Where is the West Bank? Go ahead.
All of it.
Okay, so let's say if I go to a place called Efrat in the West Bank, is apartheid there?
No.
Not in Efrat. Okay. So tell me where. How about Ramallah? Is there apartheid there?
What about Hebron?
Okay. That's a good example. Let's go to Hebron.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what's happening in Hebron? Do you know what Hebron is?
Don't worry, I don't want to sit around talking to you, Norma. Don't worry, I have.
Me neither. Let's talk about Hebron.
For you, don't you worry.
No, I just want to ask you. Tell me about apartheid in Hebron. I want to learn. Anybody? Bueller? No?
Wait a minute.
What is the apartheid? Okay. So you don't know, but you're going to try to find it, right? What is the apartheid?
I know it exists, so trust me.
You know it exists?
Yeah, so just listen.
Let's wait for the links, my goodness.
I don't want the links. I'm just talking to you.
Yeah, well, these are very strong things. We'll get the links and we'll talk about them.
Okay. We talking about human rights, but I don't know what their authority is supposed to be. Israel has never been charged with it. Israel has never been on trial with it. This is just somebody saying that Israel has apartheid.
By the definition of what? Rohan, was that the definition of the United? Like, what was that? Where'd you get that?
Because this is.
Guys, what the fuck? Get the definition yourselves, alright?
I mean, they're calling it.
Denominate, I think, is the big thing. Like, somebody's bad intentions or something.
You gotta be some strong denial, boy, so.
Yeah, but I'm not gonna. I don't know if you were here when we literally just went all over that. Push dominance.
Yeah, I mean,
We just came up with you asked the questions, of course not that.
the challenge we got was, practices of law. And I said, well, the law of Israel does not apply outside of Israel, does it? For non-Israelis, of course. So I didn't get really past there. And then you said, I don't know, bad thing, just was, let's talk about military law. So if you're a war with somebody.
No, we'll do it like this. Does the military law apply outside of Israel?
When you're at war, yes, obviously.
And then the Israeli civil law does apply outside of Israel too.
Say it again. Yeah. Oh, makes sense, doesn't it?
Right. So saying that the law does not apply outside of Israel, both laws are still applying. So it just depends on who you are. But it is.
No, it depends on where you are.
Both laws still
right?
apply even outside of Israel.
So Israeli citizens are subject to Israeli law in Israeli areas outside of Israel. And hang on, yes, right. And Palestinian law applies in Palestinian areas outside of Israel. That's normal. That's not apartheid or oppression. That's Oslo.
Israeli military applies outside of Israel.
Okay. If you're at war, like I mentioned in Jenin, which is a terror camp, somebody who has been arrested for terrorism is subject to military law because of war. That's normal with any army, right?
Okay. So then what you're saying also, the Israeli civil law, right? Does that apply to people, Palestinians that have not been arrested for terrorism?
Of course not. Why would it?
All right, Penny, you sent the links in the chat.
Apply to Palestinians who are in Palestinian areas who are not arrested, right?
Right. Penny, do you want to go over the links that you sent, or are you finding more links?
No, he can go through it himself. I don't like talking to Jarvis.
Okay. I don't blame you. I'm a tough guy to bullshit.
No, honestly, you literally interrupt, so it's like there's no point.
Oh, I didn't mean you to feel threatened. That's not the way we talk.
Oh, trust me, I cannot be threatened by your bitch ass. Oh, by the way, go pull your people to Tel Aviv, matter of fact. Don't do that. Norbo, go call. Oh, they're following, right? I'm sure they're following.
understand the situation.
I apologize for
Well, why don't we talk about one specific thing? So where is your apartheid with your brother? Where's your apartheid in Hebron? Tell me about the apartheid in Hebron. I want to hear.
Go look at the
It's in the
link.
chat, normal.
It's in the chat. So you don't know, you didn't read the link you posted? Or you can't express it or something? Did you read it? Which link do you want to look at?
I guess we'll go through all of them, so you want to start with the first one.
Okay, was posted by Panda Bear or what? Okay, well, there's a lot. I'm counting from the bottom. How many up? 1, 2, 3, 4. The bottom one?
I see 30.
Yeah, counting from the bottom.
And revealed that today that they did that and they exploded all of their cannons, some of their launchers of their ballistic missiles that they prepared to launch on Israel as a retaliation to an Israeli attack. So that's why it took them so long, because they couldn't shoot anything outside of Iran. They couldn't shoot anything proper. So they didn't.
Yeah, it really shows their infrastructure was decimated for 12 hours straight. It took them that long to recuperate, get people in place, new command units. I mean, any other military in the world would be able to immediately bounce back from something like that, but it took them 12 hours.
A few months ago, Israel has launched a strike on Iran, and in that strike, Israel has eliminated their factories where they build those ballistic missiles, and they in Israel eliminated their anti-plane system, or like all the radars and everything to shoot down planes. And Israel said we prepared the ground for our bigger strike. And last night, Israel time, whenever Israel started launching this attack on Iran, Israeli planes were flying across Tehran's skies with nobody bothering them, not a single missile being shot at them for quite a few hours.
Yeah, I've seen videos of like how slow their equipment is. I saw an Israeli jet flying away from an interceptor, and the missile is like half its speed.
But those are F-35 though.
Yeah, the F-35, amazing technology.
Now like all kinds of reports are coming out.
Su-39 from the Soviet era stuff.
You know, the biggest issue and the biggest advantage Israeli Air Force has over the Iranian Air Forces, even if the Russians actually did give them all those planes, you need to fly those planes for quite some time to know how to actually operate it in its best way. And the fact that they got those planes 6 months ago, 1 year ago from Russia, doesn't make them experts in how to use it. And all of those advantages that this thing should bring your army. While Israeli army, I think, Israeli Air Force is known for its quality and so.
Well, I mean, unless they're getting Chinese jets, then we're good. Like, it's the Chinese jets that are up to par. Everything else is below par to the S-35 and S-47. F-47, I should say.
I just think that you can't compare the two. They rely on ballistic program, and this did collapse on their head. Israel has eliminated all of their commanders of the Revolutionary Guard of Iran, and the leadership of the army within the first 2 hours of this strike. And all of their nuclear program scientists, like 20 of them. 15 of them.
Well, you know, I'll say Donald Trump is trying to distance himself, and that's a question for me. How does he do that when we ourselves launched a strike to kill General Soleimani? Like, we've taken part in it.
I think America is on board from the beginning, and it was all one big grand plan to make Iran think and believe that there is no chance Israel or America or both of the countries are going to actually launch a strike on Iran in the coming time.
Did you not see his Twitter when he said something about 60 days? Well,
yesterday was 61st day.
Yeah.